Hello and welcome to ABP Live. I have with me today a very interesting personality who's going to tell us the history of Bangladesh, how this country came into the existence, and the fact that how what really happened, the struggle in the past more than 50 years, and also today the struggle that we are seeing. Does it really have the germination on how this country took a sort of second birth? So we have with us today General Ashok Mehta. He was involved. He fought the 1970 War Liberation War in Bangladesh alongside the Mukti Bahini. We're going to understand from him. And also this is for our young viewers to understand how the history of this country, which is an immediate neighborhood of India, has really taken birth. And today, if we are seeing people rising and vandalizing the statues of, Sheikh Mujibur Rehman, are they right or are they wrong? And where is it that the country is really headed? Welcome to ABP Live, sir, and thank you so much for giving us your time. Sir, so let me understand from you what really happened. I know there are several books people can really read, but listening it from you will be more exciting in the sense people will know the real truth, the hard facts that at that time how Indian Army gave its sacrifice, so many soldiers gave life to bring this country into what it is today. So, if you can tell us, give us a brief synopsis of the 1971 war and how do you see the situation that is evolving today vis-a-vis when you see this young generation coming out and also talking about there is this anti-India discourse and vandalizing statues of Sheikh Mujibur Rehman. So if you can start from 71, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. I think yesterday, that is 5th of August, was a very significant day, as significant as 1971. That 1917 war was the first turning point in the history of this new country. It was born on 17th of December, after the Pakistan army uh, surrendered to the Indian forces. Uh, Before 71, uh, the Pakistan was divided into two wings, the West and the East. The Western wing had I don't need to go into what current day Pakistan is, but East Pakistan had majority Muslims, like in West Pakistan, but these were Bengali-speaking Muslims, and the Bengali language, uh, people from Bengal would understand the distinctive identity and the culture behind this Bangla identity. And in the elections of 1971, uh, East Pakistan led the Awami League Party, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rehman, had won a majority in that election. And by virtue of having won that majority in the elections, he was entitled to be the elected prime minister of then undivided Pakistan. Unfortunately, the military rulers in Pakistan at that time, General Yahya Khan,
Mhm.
did not concede. They dilly-dallied for a while, but they did not concede to the victory of the Awami League and let Sheikh Mujib become the prime minister in ensconced in West Pakistan.
Right.
Um, so instead of accepting that uh, political defeat, their forces in East Pakistan, which at that time were roughly about 2.5 divisions, which would mean that about 70, 80,000 troops.
Mhm.
Um, in March of 71, I think 24th of March, if I recall correctly, they launched Operation, they launched the crackdown, uh, a crackdown against the East Pakistanis, the Awami League, the opposition, and this crackdown Operation Searchlight degenerated into a genocide
Mhm.
in which some of the people in East Pakistan, uh, who were then termed as Razakars, and the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is now will it will research as a key political entity in this interim government that is likely to be formed today or tomorrow, and the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, they were that the BNP was by then not created, but uh, the Jamaat was very much an entity then, and
Exactly. Mm.
when this crackdown reached its pinnacle, there was a movement of refugees, primarily the Hindus from East Pakistan, and roughly about 10 million refugees had moved into India, bordering East Pakistan. So this genocide, I mean, it was horrendous in terms of the atrocities and the barbarity with which the Pakistan army carried out. And if you go to Dhaka, there is a Liberation War Museum
Yes.
where I had gone in November last year to give a talk. Uh, this Liberation War Museum really encapsulates the genocide, the history of the genocide, and the crackdown by the Pakistan army. The Once the refugees came into India, Indira Gandhi, who was the prime minister, asked Pakistan to take back these refugees or to create conditions in East Pakistan for the return of these refugees. When that did not happen and this crackdown continued, uh, the Mukti Bahini was created and India was involved in, in raising this force. The Mukti Bahini, they were civilians, ordinary Bangladesh, East Pakistani
That time,
Bengalis.
yeah, even that
Who,
time, the students were also there, no, sir? In the similar way.
yeah, so these lads were trained, and I think
Right.
there was a force of some 80, 90,000
Mm-hmm.
that was trained by the Indian Army.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened is that Pakistan launched an attack because Mukti Bahini, supported by the Indian Army, uh, began launching small scale attacks on the Pakistani forces. And the the Pakistan government, that is General Yahya Khan, refused, did not accept either the political conditions, that is, acknowledge Sheikh Mujib's victory, nor did he create conditions for the return of these 10 million refugees. Um, they launched preemptive attacks on 4th of December, the Pakistan army, both in the west and in the east. And then this war started. This war was essentially focused in East Pakistan. and it was fought with great intensity. The Indian Army, the forces of the Indian Army were able to successfully surround Dhaka by about 14th or 15th of December, after crossing the Meghna River from one side, and where our forces were, we were operating, I was operating in a place called from Dinajpur to Rangpur. Then we came south towards Pirganj, Bogra, and we had to cross the river into to go towards Dhaka.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that operation was very significant because at Pirganj we were able to cut off the Pakistani forces.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, on 16th December, the Pakistani forces were forced to surrender thanks to the operations launched by the Air Force. They zoomed the governor's residence, where the governor and the force commander, General Niazi, was there. Um, the
I was coming to
Actually, the
that.
surrender.
The
Sorry.
surrender accession to surrender was signed.
Yeah, surrender. First surrender took place in Dhaka
Mm-hmm.
on the 15th of December, 15th,
Right.
16th of December, and the final surrender was on 16th of December in Dhaka, where General Niazi took off his pistol and surrendered to the Indian force commander uh, at that time. And General Manik Shaw, who was the army commander, who oversaw this complete surrender ceremony. So, um, I mean, that's how it happened. And there were we created Bangladesh. Bangladesh from East Pakistan, and at that time, that generation of people in the 70s were obviously very grateful to, to India and the Indian army
Mm-hmm.
helping the Mukti Bahini in liberating, the liberating East Pakistan or liberating so-called Bangladesh and creating conditions for a democratic return of Awami League and Sheikh Mujib as the first prime minister of Bangladesh.
Mm-hmm.
All this happened in 1971,
Right.
and the government of India obviously was a serious party
Right.
and active party to this surrender ceremony.
Exactly. This is where I really wanted to come in, sir. And also, we have a little time constraint, but just to understand from you, you've seen all this, and as you very beautifully described that entire history to us in a span of just 10 minutes. Do you think that in today's generation of Bangladesh, where yes, people are talking about the fact that this is another people's uprising, this is the so-called Gen Z in Bangladesh talking against a so-called dictatorship that Hasina had probably unveiled there. But do you think there is a realization in today's Bangladesh that the role that India played at that point of time? Now, when we see attacks on the fact that they're talking, there is this anti-India discourse running across Bangladesh, there are these attacks on the minorities, temples are being vandalized. Do you think, and when they talk about, Indian army intervening and all of that, India's hand in their elections, do you think there is, do they realize the fact that how they got this much needed, valuable independence, which probably would not have happened had India not come in and, played the role that it played at that point of time?
See, unfortunately, that the revolution, for want of a better word, the revolution of 1971, the people's uprising in 1971 against the oppressive Pakistani regime was never taken to its logical conclusion. Uh, in 75, what happened was that Sheikh Mujibur Rehman legacy was obliterated, assassinated. He was assassinated by uh, General Rehman, the current political leader, Begum Khalida Zia's husband. And he carried out that counter revolution. And the parties involved in that counter revolution wanted to erase the legacy of um, Sheikh Mujib, Awami League, and to a large extent India. And when this BNP came into power
Mhm.
and the military rule lasted while the general was there, and it was carried on by his wife, Khalida Zia, they, they carried out a systematic uh, erasure of that revolution, of the 71 Liberation War. And
Mhm.
therefore, during the period when the BNP and the Jamaat-e Islami, do remember, had colluded with the Pakistanis. When they were in power, they systematically erased this legacy,
Mhm.
and the commemoration of the liberation war would stop
Right.
as during Sheikh Hasina's time, when Sheikh Hasina came back into power in 2001, and she was able, her first term, she revived this the history of the liberation war.
Hmm.
And of course, she was again, she lost in 2006, she lost the elections. And again, the BNP came back. And when BNP came back, the same thing happened. So you have a party, BNP and Jamaat-e-Islam, that are avowedly anti-India, that
Mhm.
are avowedly anti-liberation war, that
Right.
are avowedly um, the Mukti Bahini, and ironically, many of these people, General Zia Rahman was himself a Mukti Bahini commander, but they did not want, for whatever reason, this uh, this government did not let that memory, that legacy institutionalize.
Mhm.
And so while Sheikh Hasina went her last 15 years of rule, that legacy has really been institutionalized. But and later this year, the two prime ministers, they have built a memorial somewhere near Chittagong, I think, where they are the two prime ministers, Prime Minister Modi and Hasina, were to inaugurate it somewhere October, November of this year. That memorial to the about 1,300 or 1,400 people, Indian soldiers who lost their lives
Right.
in assisting Mukti Bahini in the liberation war. Now, what will happen? I am absolutely clear in my mind that this new regime will, which is another revolution. This is the first revolution, the second revolution, and this is the third revolution. So the legacy of Mukti of Sheikh Mujib, that image of the student climbing the bronze statue of
Mm,
Sheikh Mujib and
mm,
trying to nail it down. I mean, that was very symbolic of this. That they will, because if you go to Bangladesh, especially to Dhaka, the image of Sheikh Mujib is everywhere, from
mm.
the airport to the parliament, all over Dhaka.
Right.
That is what this revolution, the current revolution, will attempt to do. It now depends on how the army and this interim government, how they move about. But I think it is principally the responsibility of the military now to decide whether they are going to save and preserve that legacy or let it let it be erased. And that is why to answer that question of yours, whether this generation, I mean, a lot of people romanticize this liberation war, especially the Awami League and their supporters. And one of the triggers for the protest, student protests, was this reservation of jobs
Mhm.
for the families of the Mukti Joddhas, the people who fought in that liberation war and their families. And so it is reasonably clear that this generation, I think politically motivated, I'm sure politically inspired by the Jamaat and the BNP, because they have been involved, Jamaat and BNP, in riots. When I was there in November, there were these riots of these textile workers, and there were uh, very serious riots which were
But just to
clearly
Right. Just to quickly
inspired
on
by
this
the
one from you,
populace.
sir, because we have paucity of time. Just my last question to you will be, since you've seen this over, the span of decades, how things have been changing in Bangladesh, going forward, do you see, this BNP Jamaat, this coalition becoming a security concern for India, and maybe this neighborhood is going to be much more challenging in the coming decades. Your opinion on that, sir, quickly.
Well, I think that that's a very vital question. Um, our bilateral relations with Bangladesh were never better than what they were in the Sheikh Hasina period, although there was a lot of anti-India sentiment. And that anti-India sentiment, I think, was largely the creation of India's support for Sheikh Hasina. The people of Bangladesh are not against India per se. The people of Bangladesh are not against Indians. The, the, the younger people, this generation, this post-liberation war generation,
Mm.
this generation of 2000, year 2000 onwards, who are 24, 23, they have not seen the liberation war.
Right.
And they are concerned with jobs, employment, being able to eat hilsa and other other fish. But so they are not concerned. And when you have reservation for these Mukti Jodhas, then so yes, India has this big challenge, now how to ensure that the interim government, which will be managed by the army, the new chief, General Zaman, that India's interests are maintained, that relations with India are not hostile. They should be friendly because economically, Bangladesh will still rely heavily on India, which is the fastest growing economy today. And
Correct.
therefore, how we manage this relationship and make sure that our other security threats, terrorism, radicalization, these threats do not slip back. And what you mentioned, that they are able to restore law and order and protect the minorities and the minority properties and temples. Otherwise, things will get out of hand.
Sure, sure. Well, thank you so much, sir. That has been an excellent conversation with you to understand what really happened in 1971, the history before that, and coming back to what is happening in Bangladesh today and why it is important for these two countries to really be friends as they are, as they used to be. Thank you for talking to ABP Live, sir. Please take
Yeah,
care.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
For exclusive and insightful videos, subscribe to our new channel ABP Live Premium.